All right, well now we are going to start on arrays. So I'm going to say public class arrays example. All my public static void main string args. All right, let's tab these over. Oops. Okay. To understand what an array is to understand what a variable is. A variable is just a memory address with a specific data type. So for example, we have int, and I'll say num1 equals 3. All right, well, that's useful. What if we want to have a number of ints instead of just one? Suppose we have int num2 equals 4, int num3 equals 5, int num4 equals 6. Suppose we want like 20 of those. Oh, that would be very tedious. Well, this is where arrays come in. Arrays allow us the ability to have a whole bunch of values of the exact same data type in one data structure. So instead of having, we could say dot 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 int num20 equals some big number here. So I'm going to create an array. That's how you do it. Say int, tell it that it's a one-dimensional array, call it something. So I'll just be like a pirate. Say array. R is for short for array. R equals new int. And then you have to tell it how many you want in there. In this case, I'll have 20 of these. So when I declare this one little thing here, all I'm saying is I want 20 integers. Now, what value does it give us? So this is called the default value. For all integer or number-based arrays, it's going to give us actually a 0. So I'm going to say for int I equals 0. And why do I start with 0? Because arrays are 0-based. So this says 20, but that means it's 0 through 19, not 1 through 20. It's one of those things. Kind of weird, maybe. And then I can say 20, or I can easily say r.length. And r.length, the reason I might use that is if I later change this to 25 to 30 to 2, whatever, this will always do the right thing. It's always going to give me the length of the array. Plus plus. All right. So let's go ahead and print out the default value. System out print line, and then r sub I. Now, what is this exactly doing? Well, just so that we can see it, I'm going to say I equals I, and then r sub I equals. There we go. And as I changes in this for loop, it goes I equals 0 to I is less than 20. So it's going to go 0, 1, 2, 3, all the way to 19. When it gets to 20, it'll stop and not go in. So we'll save this. Yes, we'll save it where I always save everything. And then, oh, it doesn't like that. Silly me. All right, there we go. And we'll run that. And as you can see, the default value for ints is 0. Huh, that's pretty cool. In Java, we usually take that for granted. In other languages like C and C++, it gives us other values that's just whatever happens to be in the memory location of the time. So when you create an array, it sets everything to the default value. In this case, since it's a number, 0. If it was a string, it set everything to null. Well, what if we want to, instead of printing things out, what if we want to give everything a value? So for int I equals 0, I is less than r.length, I plus plus, and I can give the entire array a value. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say r sub I equals just I. Let's give it a value. And so this had 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way to some random number. Here it's going to be 0, 1, 2. So if we give it a value, so set values, and now it's not going to be default values anymore because I've changed that, but print values. Compile that. Looks good. Run it. And there we go. So how did it get 0, 1, 2, all the way to 19? Well, if we look back in here, when r, that's the array name, sub I, and what is I? 0. So r sub I equals I. So on the 0th index, it's going to be equal to 0, just like it shows right here. And then on the first one, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, and so on, all the way to r sub 19 equals 19. And this, of course, all I did was print it out. So there are two ways to create this is to create an array with default values. So when you do it this way, and whatever our this is a one-dimensional array, we want it like this, then it just sets it, and we have a whole bunch of values. Okay, so what exactly is an array? Well, one of the best ways to explain this is if we were to look at, say, Excel. If you look at an array, it's the same thing as if it's a column. A one-dimensional array is just a column, or if you like, it's just a row, whichever way you like to look at it. Because a one-dimensional array is simply one dimension along the x-axis or along the y-axis. And that's all that an array is. And so when I create an array here, and I just say int one dimension, r equals new int, and I give it 20, I'm just saying I want a single column or a single row, whichever abstract way of thinking you like to think about it, with the default value of all zeros. And then here, I set the values. Arrays are often used for storing large amounts of data, say from a file or simulations, anything like that. But there's another way you can create and initialize initial values at the same time. So we're going to say r, I think r2, and then we're just going to give some values, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11. There we go. Now, how's that? It is not happy because it's illegal initializer. Well, that explains why we have to have the brackets here. You see, if we don't have the brackets here, it doesn't know that what's to expect an array on the right side. So I say, okay, I want an array. Yay, okay. Now I've got the set values for r, but I'm going to be playing with r2, and so I'm going to just change this to r2. Since I'm using the .length attribute, it will just print exactly r2 out, regardless of how big it is. In this case, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So its length equals 6, indexed from 0 to 5. So arrays, it has the length, but it always starts with index of 0 to length minus 1. So we should now be able to print it out. It should do the odd numbers 1 through 11. And there they are. So let's review one more time. We have two ways to create arrays. One is the declaration right here with default values and with numbers. Of course, it's 0. With strings, it is null. And here we are declaring and initializing an array at the same time. The .length attribute tells us the length of the array, and that's it. So enjoy.